Next on Startup, we head to Nashville, Tennessee to talk with Will, a youth pastor and mentor who created Salemtown Board Company, a business that makes handcrafted skateboards while giving back to the community. Then we swing by Somerset Center, Michigan to talk to Steve, a tenacious visionary on a mission, and the owner of Meckley's, an apple orchard that makes homemade hard cider. All of this and more is next on Startup.
It all starts with an idea, and everyone has them. In the world of business, where you choose to take your idea determines where your idea will take you. Baker College is proud to support Startup and those who dare to share their ideas with the world.
The American small business was built on one thing: relationships. And every time a customer walks through the door, a new one begins. Pay Anywhere was built to help entrepreneurs do what they do best. So keep loving what you do. Just get paid for it. Pay Anywhere.
The Chevrolet Volt, an everyday electric car with gas for longer trips. The nature of things to come. Chevrolet, find new roads.
American Express is proud to support Startup and the millions of small businesses that put in the hard work to be open for business in neighborhoods across the country.
My name is Gary Brado, and I'm a documentary filmmaker and an entrepreneur. The economy is in less than perfect shape, and when the jobs go away, there's nothing left to do but get up and get creative. And there are people all over America doing just that. It's estimated that up to 85% of new businesses fail. So I'm going coast to coast to hear the personal stories of the people who beat the odds and started a successful business from the ground up. This is Startup. I'm on 2nd Avenue North in Nashville, Tennessee, and we're going to go talk to Will, who created Salemtown Board Company. Now, Will started his career as a social worker, but when he had the chance to create custom skateboards and make a difference in the community, he took that opportunity and hasn't looked back since. Let's go hear his story. Originating in Hawaii, skateboarding began as a training method for surfers and was initially called sidewalk surfing. Today, skateboarding has grown into a billion-dollar industry as a recreational and competitive sport. Will has always been passionate about both skateboarding and social change. With Salemtown Board Company, he's making skateboards and making a positive impact in the lives of Nashville's inner city youth. What's your name and a little bit of information about your background?
Okay, my name is Will Anderson. I moved here to Nashville about a year and a half ago. I grew up in Central Florida. I had a mom that taught me how to use power tools pretty early on. And so I grew up skateboarding, making skateboards, tacking ramps together out of just different pieces of scrap wood I found around the neighborhood. And then, when I came here, I had a buddy who came to me and said, "What do you think about starting a skateboard company?" And I said, "That's exactly what I want to do."
Where did you go to school? Did you go to college?
I went to school in East Tennessee at a small school called Bryan College, where I got a philosophy degree. And then I moved to the Boston area, where I actually spent 3 years in seminary. I got a degree, but I'm not ordained or anything. And while I was in seminary, I started working in social work. I knew that I wanted to work with young men. I really had just a heart for young guys in difficult situations.
What kind of person is Will to work for? What kind of guy is he?
Will is a big brother. He's like a father to us, a mentor. How would you try to describe? Someone who we looks up to. Yeah. He's a big brother to us, basically.
I want to talk about the nuts and bolts of Salemtown. Where were you financially in terms of, your credit, money in the bank? What did it take to get this operation going?
Our business started with a friend giving us $300 and saying, "Good luck." We made a few boards, put together a little Shopify site, and that's how we got started. We'll have people say to us stuff like, "Oh, I'd start a business too, if I had X amount of money." And I'm thinking, we started with literally nothing. There are people who are thinking about starting a business and they're thinking, is it worth the risk? And my thought is, if you're really wrestling with, is it worth the risk? It probably isn't. because for the entrepreneurs I know who have made it and who love what they're doing, it was never a question of, is it worth the risk? It was always, this is what I have to do.
Skateboarding is good for your health. It can help a person improve cardiovascular strength, balance, flexibility, and coordination. Talking about your logo, your brand, your website, how did that all come about?
In our situation, we had 3 different Nashville creatives who found us and loved what we were doing and hated our branding. And so they sat down with us and helped us completely redo everything. We made all of our design very contemporary, very right now, thinking, we're trying to sell to people right now. So we had to have, these professional design guys sit us down and say, while your business looks cool right now, you don't want to anchor it to right now, because 18 to 24 months from now, you're going to look completely outdated. And so we had to be educated on how do you create a business that serves, in terms of its branding, serves today's market, but isn't anchored to today's market.
Well, your stuff is extremely high end. What did it cost?
Free.
Okay, so the key is design an absolutely horrible website, do a really crappy logo,
yeah,
and then hope somebody comes in, swoops in, and does it for free. That's an awesome strategy.
I think the strategy is more do something that other people love.
Okay.
And so that's what we did. We did something where they looked at it and they said, we love what they're doing, we want to help them.
To have a unique model and I guess what we would say a start to this by coming in and trying to take local kids from the neighborhood and bring them in. Explain that a little bit and talk about the employees that you have currently.
Yeah, well, our goal from the beginning was, we have people come to us and say, oh, well, why aren't you 501c3? Why are you a business? Why aren't you a nonprofit? And I'm thankful for nonprofits, but I don't want to be a nonprofit. I tell people all the time, I'm a bleeding heart libertarian. I believe in corporate responsibility. I believe in making a change in my community. I just don't believe that the best way to do that are vast programs. And I feel like through the avenue of small business, I'm able to interact with these guys in a way that I wouldn't if I was just the goofy 27-year-old that consistently showed up at the community center to play basketball. Our goal from the beginning has been, how do we create jobs for people who need jobs?
What's one of the top things that you can say that you've learned from him over the course of this time working here?
How to grow up and be a man, be respectful.
Take ownership.
What's been the biggest hardship that you've had to overcome from day one?
I think probably the biggest struggle for us is that we didn't know our industry starting out. And so starting a skateboard company in October and launching in November is a bad idea.
Okay.
Especially if you're not a global company, because if you live within the Northern Hemisphere, from the end of the buying season at Christmas through April, people don't buy skateboards in America.
So what you're saying is make sure that you understand if there is a level of seasonality with your product to dig down deep and get it.
But also, so much of being an entrepreneur, as you know, is about being creative. And so for me, when I look at the winter in the US and see here's 4 months out of the year where I'm probably not going to be making a lot of money, my first thought isn't, oh, well, that sucks. How do I survive 4 months of not making money? My thought is, okay, how do I alter my social media so that I can kill it in Brazil and Australia?
There you go.
Because our summer is their winter.
Approximately 800,000 people are seen by medical professionals annually due to skateboarding injuries. So this could potentially someday be a skateboard, correct?
That will today be a skateboard.
Today.
Today.
Right. I'm very intrigued, interested to learn. Where do we start?
Go ahead and trace that out.
Okay. Nice. That really smooths it out. Love it.
All right. That looks good. Symmetrical. Great. Next step of the process. We're adding the edge on these just to roll the edges just like on a, on a surfboard. So that's what we're going to do here. All right, so at this point, you can see we kind of rounded the edges.
Oh, yeah.
And although it might look like the board is basically 95% done, the hands-on portion of the board is really just beginning, because at this point, I hand it off to the boys.
How did you acquire this space? Because this seems like the perfect workshop for what it is you're doing.
Yeah, the space was totally a fluke. We knew the guy who owns this space and the spaces on either side. We literally just sent the guy an email, said, this is what we're doing, this is what our vision is, can you help us out? And he basically said, let me talk to my lawyers and I'll get back to you. And so we didn't know what that meant. And then about 3 days later, he said, I got a place cleared out for you. We basically have free reign on this space.
You pay no rent?
No rent.
Do you pay utilities?
No utilities. Here's the thing, people.
How does this keep happening to you, man? Free website, free branding, free space. This is a very rare story, just so you know.
It is. I'm not gonna say I don't take it for granted, because I do all the time. If you do something people love, people get in line to help you out.
It's incredibly unique. On that note, let's go ahead and put your brand on a board.
Yeah.
Talking to all the entrepreneurs, would-be entrepreneurs out there, what advice would you give them?
You got to be a little bit crazy. You have to, as I said, you do have to be willing to bleed. But then when I'm able to tell people, hey, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, this is the change that we're hoping to see, this is the effect that we're hoping to have in our employees' lives.
Reminder.
I kind of sit back and I'm like, oh wow, that's something worth doing. Find something that you're excited to tell people about. Because if you're not excited about it, no one else will be excited about it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today.
There are a million ways to start a business, but how did Will do it? Let's find out. He started with around $300 in the bank and a credit score of around 650. It took $300 to start the business, which he acquired from a friend. He made a profit of around $20,000 in his first year. The one word that Will said he would use to describe what it takes to make it in business is heart.
Will definitely doesn't skate through life, and he doesn't get bored with making a difference in his community. With every new product that rolls out, he's ramping up sales and the self-esteem of inner city youth. Will isn't just making a living, he's making a difference. For more information, log on to our website and click the link for Salemtown Board Company. I'm on Jackson Road in Somerset Center, Michigan, and I'm gonna go talk to Steve, the owner of Meckley's, a second-generation family apple orchard that's branching out into the hard cider business. Let's go hear his story.
The drink once favored by colonial Americans has been rediscovered nearly a century after Prohibition. Its rising popularity among U.S. consumers pushed cider sales to nearly $600 million last year. Steve grew up working on his family orchard, and from an early age, he learned every aspect of running this business. But once he took over the family farm, he was able to put his vision into action by creating this one-of-a-kind hard cider.
Start by telling us who you are and where we are today.
My name's Steve Meckley. We are at our family farm, Flavor Fruit Farms, which is nestled here in the center of the lake country in southern Michigan. My dad came to Michigan from Iowa after World War II in 1953-54 and started to work for the current owner at the farm at the time. His name was Ed Lutz, as a hired hand. A fateful day in about 1955, he met my mother, who was on a senior field trip picking apples. From there, it became a true love. And in 1956, they purchased the farm and got married. And from there, we've just continued to evolve and grow. There are 6 of us children. My siblings tell me that I'm the only one crazy enough to stay on the farm and to try and keep this place going. I loved the crazy, what we call choreographed chaos of the fall.
Yeah.
And the fact that, we've got these just massive, crowds of people, 2,000-3,000 people a weekend.
Is your mom and dad still involved?
My father passed away in 2009. My mom is still here. Yeah, she's still very much involved.
But does she still have a stake in the business?
No, actually, I purchased the farm outright. Everything's on my shoulders. The buck stops here.
How did you make the purchase? Did you have to take out a mortgage or a bank loan, or was it cash?
No, it was a mortgage, traditional bank mortgage.
Did Mom cut you a good deal?
No,
Did you have to beat her up on it a little bit?
No, that was my older brother's, not at all. In fact, I was given the same deal as anybody else would have been. It was what the appraisal came in at. They're hard, man. I mean, they weren't.
Well, you learn from the best, right? What did you do, to take it from where it was up to the next level? And was that sort of a conscious mentality that you had? I'm going to take this and I'm going to grow it. I'm going to expand it.
It certainly was. During college, I had actually put together a business plan where we, had a bed and breakfast, a restaurant, and then the retail store. We're not quite there yet.
Aggressive.
But that was my dream, for this place, and I've never really lost sight of that.
What are all the things that you're producing out of here?
We of course do the bakery where we're doing all of our own fresh pies and donuts and breads and things like that. We do the fresh cider. We're doing the hard cider.
Hard cider. Where did the idea? When did it first hit you?
Hard cider is something that we always had. Dad had a barrel in the back of the cooler, and none of us kids understood why Dad would go visit the barrel and then he would mellow out. Just for sheer, test purposes, I started making cider when I was probably 14 or 15. And finally, I had a bunch of friends that told me, listen, Steve, you need to compete. You need to go up and, do the competition that's held every year here in Michigan. So I did. As a non-commercial producer, I went up and I competed, and we medaled with half the ciders that we took. And I said, wow, maybe there is something to this.
Yeah.
So I ponied up the money to take and have an actual attorney walk us through that process of getting our small winemaker's license. And we got approved, and we started production, or opened the tasting room rather, July 1st of 2011. Instantaneously, people were like, wow, this is excellent. We want more. We couldn't keep up.
Between the 1600s and 1800s, the British estate owner who made the best cider attracted the best workforce because a significant part of a worker's wage was paid in cider. However, an 1887 law called the Truck Amendment Act made it illegal to compensate workers in this manner.
Product. I see that.
Products.
AB, what does that stand for?
Well, those are actually property of Anheuser-Busch. These are pallets that are scheduled to go out with our local Anheuser-Busch distributor in southern Michigan, and they have been a big part of our being able to get it into 60 or 70 different stores in a short period of time.
And people approach large distributors all the time to get their product onto a shelf. Tell me the story. How did it happen?
We were at the Michigan International Speedway at the beer festival.
Okay.
Our booth was just jamming.
Okay.
And it got the attention of some of the distributors in the room.
They're like, who are these guys? What's going on?
What's happening over there?
Right.
And of course, the buzz was when people would pull somebody across, you got to go try that cherry bomb.
So they're pulling them away from the Bud booth over to you?
You got to go try the cherry bomb.
They don't like that.
No. So they're kind of like, all right, let's go over there and talk to these guys. They came and they actually approached us and said, we're interested if you're interested. And my comment back was, I'm interested, but I don't want to give it away.
There's always the potential for the integrity and the quality of the product to lose, to kind of start to go away with mass production. How are you going to control that?
Well, their first question to me, their only question to me is how can we maintain the quality and how can we maintain the quantity in terms of what are you capable of producing? And I said, well, if you guys are willing to work with me, I'll be willing to work with you and just help me grow gradually.
So you wanted to let sales dictate your growth?
Correct. And so they were on board with that and have remained on board with that. For us, it's all about it being product that we either grow or source locally and put into a can or a bottle, and I have every aspect of that under our control. Each one of these is approximately 250 to 300 gallons of finished hard cider. So these are our low-cost fermenters that have allowed us to save a significant amount of money.
Tell us what's happening here. Where are we standing and what's going on behind us?
We're in the cider room, and the guys from Michigan Mobile Canning are here. They've set up their equipment, and they are putting our hard cider into pint cans. And they can it right out of our tank, so it makes
well, that's
a nice
a game
deal.
changer. Have you done a cost per unit with product? Have you been able to calculate that?
Yes. With the cider, depending on the cider itself, we're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of about $1.50
Per can?
per can.
And what are you selling a 4-pack for?
4-packs here on premise are $17.
A good or bad season can really make or break your business right now.
Yeah.
You're relying on Mother Nature to get it going.
We're a farmer. We are still a farmer, and it's a challenge. It really is.
Made from apples, water, and little else, most ciders are naturally gluten-free. The perfect drink for celiac sufferers or those on a gluten-free or paleo diet. Always check the label to be sure you're drinking pure cider.
We've been doing some print advertising in specialty magazines all over the state, and it's a lot of fun. And we've had some great feedback. It's like, oh, we saw that your ad, and we had a couple weeks ago that came out from Indiana, and they saw us in a magazine, and thank you for being, or we wouldn't have known about Cherry Bomb, and we wouldn't have known about the great place that you have here. So
awesome.
What are you doing today to make tomorrow better? What are you doing within your family? What are you doing within the community? What are you doing to pay something forward? You do the things that you love with the people you love, and then the money that it's a natural progression. It comes.
You're not profitable yet, I wouldn't assume.
No.
Okay. When do you foresee profit in the future?
I would say that beyond making a living and actually looking at it being a viable business, I would say within the next 3 to 5 years we'll be in a strong enough cash position where we could do additional expansions, things that might take a significant amount of revenue.
What do you see for the next year with this?
We've gone over the last 3 years from 1,500 gallons of production to 6,000 gallons of production to roughly 16,000 gallons of production to next year. I won't be satisfied if we don't hit 25,000 gallons, and I can see us doubling it a year after that. I really am very excited and curious to see how the partnership with the Budweiser folks, what that'll do for us over the course of the winter months for cash flow. Because winter months on a seasonal business, it's tough.
What is the biggest hardship that you've had to face?
Just the time, the sacrifices of time.
Number one piece of advice for an entrepreneur out there?
Follow your passion, because anybody that is passionate about something, if you really feel it in your gut, in your heart, that is what you want to do, you can make it work.
Well, thank you so much, Steve, for talking with us today. I really appreciate it.
Been great.
There are a million ways to start a business, but how did Steve do it? Let's find out. He started with around $10,000 in the bank and a credit score of 705. He spent around $10,000 total to open the cider business that he took from his savings. In his first year, they broke even with sales of $50,000. The one word that Steve said he would use to describe what it takes to make it in business is passion.
In a family business, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And Steve really pressed to get to the core of diversification while planting a seed for future generations. For Steve, the writing was on the wall, and it read delicious. For more information, log on to our website and click the link for Meckley's.
Failure to success is hand in hand. I think that you will fail way more than you will succeed, but what happens when you fail is the fact that you learn as you fail. So, every entrepreneur goes through a certain stage. They go through a stage of act, learn, and repeat. And I actually ended up learning that stage when I was an entrepreneur in residence in Babson College, and the dean had wrote a really great book called Just Start.
Yeah, that's another option for you. Okay. See, this might be a little bit more your color.
This one fits perfect. Oh, it feels good too.
Like it was made for you.
I feel very free. What? So I know we're on opposite sides of the fence, but why do you always gotta balk about what you do, huh?
American Express is proud to support startup and the millions of small businesses that put in the hard work to be open for business in neighborhoods across the country.
The Chevrolet Volt, an everyday electric car with gas for longer trips. The nature of things to come. Chevrolet, find new roads.
The American small business was built on one thing: relationships. And every time a customer walks through the door, a new one begins. Pay Anywhere was built to help entrepreneurs do what they do best. So keep loving what you do. Just get paid for it. Pay Anywhere.
It all starts with an idea, and everyone has them. In the world of business, where you choose to take your idea determines where your idea will take you. Baker College is proud to support startup and those who dare to share their ideas with the world.